Where are we, Rosie?
Oh, we're at the Great Sand Dunes and we're hiking. Well, we're going back down.
Yeah.
But we were hiking up.
That's so fun. That's right, family travelers. We are at Great Sand Dunes National Park here in Colorado. We made a 4th of July weekend of it. Got kind of a last minute reservation that got canceled and picked up on that. So we drove down into Great Sand Dunes National Park. We got in, late afternoon, early evening, and did dinner. And then after dinner, kind of did a dusk walk just to kind of scout things out and see where the possibilities were for us. And the Pinyon Flats campground is really well placed. It's right along the sand dunes, and by right along I mean a quarter mile to a half mile away depending on where you start. But that's because the sand dunes are constantly shifting. The sand dunes are a phenomenon in that the prevailing winds come from the west over the San Juan Mountains and bring the dust and sand and particulate with it. And then it hits the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, which are right here, just to the east of the sand dunes. And that kind of causes a little interruption in the airflow, just enough to kind of drop and deposit the sand. And that piles up. Now, what creates the dunes itself, which is why it's kind of a funny phenomenon here, is you have your westerly prevailing winds, but then you have easterly storm winds. So those come over the Sangre de Cristo Mountains and kind of push the sand and the debris that's there kind of back onto itself. And that's that reverse airflow is what causes the dunes to build up in a very broad sense of the geology of this. But we have the highest sand dune in North America here, and it's of course fairly deep into the sand dunes, so it takes a pretty good walk to get in there. As far as the campground, they've got a really nice little camp store there. It's got ice, they've got extra propane, bug spray, tents, some basic food supplies. So if you find yourself really out of something all of a sudden, you can probably pop into that camp store and get resupplied. We were in campsite 28, which was pretty amazing. It's on the dune side, loop 1, closest to the dunes. Campsites 20 through about the mid 30s maybe or so are all on the even numbers, are the ones that are on the dune side. And you kind of trade shade for views in many instances. There's shaded sites, which is what we had, but we didn't really have much of a view of the dunes unless we kind of walked a few feet down and looked around. And then there were some pretty well exposed sites. Stuff where you'd have to bring your own shade and awning because there's not even enough trees to tie things up and post things. The second day, we got breakfast going and then headed out to the dunes. We kind of packed for a beach trip. So there's a creek that comes down, and 4th of July really running the very end of the possibility of the creek being flowing. We did have a little rain the first night that we were here, so between that and probably some extra runoff that was coming down, we were able to set up a little camp, and the kids played in the mud and got all mucked up and played in the sand, and then went up on the sand dunes and rolled and slid and had a good time with that. In the afternoon, we took the 4x4 road, which was the non 4x4 section, to Point of No Return, and just had a quick little peekaboo out over Sand Pit picnic area, which looks like it'd be a really nice place to go and hike and cruise around. And then to wrap things up this morning, our last day, we took a leisurely morning in getting up, breakfast, packed up camp, and then to get the wiggles out before the drive back to Boulder, before the kids are all strapped in, we went to go check out the Dunes Overlook Trail, which departs right from the campsite. It's a mile each way. We did not make it all the way up, which is totally fine, but got a little bit of an overview of the dunes, and yeah, pretty awesome here at the Great Sand Dunes National Park. We're looking forward to getting out here again, so we'll see you next time.